Yo, what up, guys? I'm on the clock. And today I'm doing a little solo pod. Hopefully this won't be a pattern that continues, but if it does, I'm down for it. And you guys are gonna get the best version of myself every single time. So without further ado, if you're new here, madness has continued so far this season. And if you're not new here, you kind of know how we roll here. College basketball season. We're here in week 9, I believe this is. Um, which is unbelievable to me. We're almost to 10 weeks, almost a third of the way through the season. So with that being said, top 25. UConn remains at number 1 for the third week straight. Purdue coming in at number 2 for the third week straight. Houston 3, Kansas 4. Now this is the first time that we have had our top 25 align with the consensus top 25, which is awesome. I mean, it just shows that we've been kind of standing pat on a lot of things, and the real rankings have now come to form as we've had the same rankings for the last 2 weeks, and now the AP is starting to reflect kind of what ours looks like. We have a little bit of difference with the AP poll here. We kind of have 5 and 6 flipped, and also some changes with 6. But Arizona's 7, I believe, and Arkansas is 6 or 5. Arizona might be 5. I'm not sure. I don't really care too much about the AP top 25. It's kind of garbage. So Arkansas 11-1. Obviously UConn's 13-0. Purdue are 12-0. Houston's 12-1. With their one loss to Alabama. Kansas 11-1. Arkansas 11-1. Arizona 12-1. Alabama coming in at number 7, 10-2. UCLA at 8, 11-2. Miami rising up steadily at 9, 12-1 after their win over Virginia. Baylor at 10 at 9-2. Virginia falling to 11 at 8-2. Illinois falling to 12 at 8-4 with their loss to Missouri, which we'll talk more about in depth here a couple of times in this episode. And that was a good game. That was one of our games that we predicted, and it turned out pretty poorly for most of us. It turned out poorly for all of us. We all picked Illinois. But Virginia Tech coming in at 11-2. Indiana steadily rising back up at 10-3. Kentucky also doing the same. Kind of been wavering around this 15-16 mark for the whole season in our rankings at 8-3. Wisconsin steadily climbing up now to 16 at 9-2. They just keep plugging along, playing Wisconsin basketball. North Carolina also steadily rising up 1 spot to 9-4. Utah, I really wanted them to beat TCU, which we will talk about more in a bit. We'll talk about in a bit. But Utah 9-4, number 18. Auburn 10-2, 19. Tennessee 20, 10-2. Texas 10-1 at 21. That's the biggest differential we have between us and the AP top 25. Obviously a 15 spot difference, with Texas being the number 6 team in the country according to ESPN, and the coaches poll or whatever else they do. I just don't see it. The Chris Beard things really makes it hard for me to say that they're going to definitively win the championship. I think that they'll be a team that, just as they continue to win, will steadily rise all the way back up. Tyrese Hunter is great. He's a great player. I don't think they have the depth to make a major tournament run. But now we have Gonzaga at 22, Duke at 23, UNLV at 24, Missouri at 25. Kind of give you guys a sneak peek behind the curtain, since it's just me today. Show you. I do the 32 every week. And if you're curious about what our kind of that last group of teams looks like this week, I can kind of reveal back behind. I might start doing the top 32. I feel like doing the first half of the tournament, the top half is smart. You kind of can give your proper props to all the teams that are kind of on the edge of the top 25. And this week, those teams are New Mexico, undefeated, one of 3 teams left in the country. I believe in the whole country that is undefeated, one of 3. And then we have Ohio State at 8-3. They've been doing great. And continuing to plug along. Bryce Sensabaugh has been phenomenal, one of the best frontrunners in the country. Utah State, one of my favorite teams in the country, steadily rising to 11-2 from 30 last week. Santa Clara debuting in our top 32, you could say. At 12-3, they've been playing fantastic. I think it's Podzinski, Brandon. He's been playing wonderful, and has really started to rise his stock. We kind of filling that Jalen Williams role for Santa Clara. Then we have St. Mary's, 10-4, kind of returning to the top 32. They were in their first week. That solid veteran team with some good freshmen that can contribute. TCU, after their early season loss, has been on kind of a roll. I'm very hesitant to put a Mike Miles led team, especially when they haven't faced much competition, all the way back up just because their win over Utah. But have to give them some respect and slide them in here at 31. And at 32, we have Arizona State at 11-2. So, actually, you know what? That's a lie. Arizona State's at 31. TCU's at 32. There we go. There we go. Arizona State stays at 31 from last week. I'm not going to dock them for winning games. It's not what we do here, ladies and gentlemen. We don't dock teams for winning games or not playing. So kind of getting in the top 25. It was kind of a cakewalk this week for most of the top 25. We'll get into some of the bigger games as they come up throughout the pod, and like the stocks on the rise area and some of the mid-major performers. But there's big games. I mean, obviously, if you don't know and you're new here, record this every Tuesday. Today it's Tuesday night. You might notice some things different. I'm not in Madison. I'm not in Oconomowoc, but I am in Navarino, Wisconsin, visiting some family. Having a good time. It's that holiday season, but it's never an excuse not to record another pod. You know what I mean? So yeah, mostly cakewalks to the top 25, I'd say. Tomorrow being Wednesday, when this will come out. So tonight's going to be a lot of really, really good games, and those will be a lot of games that we preview later. It's just been a pretty light week. A lot of teams played on the 27th, or not on the 27th. A lot of teams are playing on the 22nd. Kind of before Christmas break let out. We saw a good chunk of the country get out and play some decent games. And even on the 21st, I think there were some good battles, but nothing that like really speaks to you. Boston College upset Virginia Tech, obviously, and Villanova was able to get the win over St. John's, and we'll talk about more of that stuff. But it's a pretty weak week. Kentucky played Florida A&M. Houston played McNeese, like Texas, Louisiana, Lafayette, Raging Cajuns. I don't know what you guys are trying to look for here, but I'm kind of set on talking about important stuff. So SMU taking down Utah State, kind of moving into our mid-major performers because there's not really much to talk about at the top of the country. Lots of cakewalks, like I said. SMU takes down Utah State. Zurich Phelps met his season average of 19 in a win over a Utah State team that has been on a tear to start the year. SMU is a team that I was very optimistic about at the beginning of the year, kind of has been underperforming, but a win over Utah State, good team. May start to turn things around. Another mid-major kind of upset, that USF Dons, San Francisco Dons, shout out Stephen Gillespie, hand Arizona State their second loss. The Dons opened up the game on a 26-3 run, and they were able to hold Arizona to 27.9% from shooting from the field and 19.2% shooting from behind the arc. Tough to win when you get kind of sauced like that on defense. And then also Khalil Shabazz with 26, 7 and 6, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, by the way, on 5 and 11, shooting from 3, was able to be a major contributor in USF getting the W, handing Arizona State their second loss of the season. Not sure I said that before. Speaking of handing teams losses, Drake handed Mississippi State their first loss of the season. If you're not familiar with Drake, they have, not the rapper, obviously, but Tucker DeVries, plays for Drake, plays for his father. Not sure what Coach DeVries' first name is, but much respect to him. He's done a great job this season. They're off to a great start. A team that may make its way into our top 32. You never know. Never know. Never know. Tucker had 15-5, 3 for 10 from 3, not really his best showing. It was more of a team effort. They played great defense. But in his next game, kind of just, on the mid-major performance, it doesn't have to be all about one game or these upsets. These 3 obviously are upsets of mid-major teams upsetting Power 5 teams. And most importantly, one of the undefeated teams in the country got handed their first loss by a team that has an NBA prospect on it. Next game for Tucker, his second perfect game of the season, this time against St. Ambrose, 124-48 win. Played 19 minutes, scored 21 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 8 for 8 from the field, 4 for 4 from 3. Kid is a baller. If you don't know about Tucker DeVries yet, I don't know what you're doing here, to be honest. New Mexico, stocks on the rise. One of 3 undefeated teams in the country and finally in the AP top 25. So good for New Mexico. Jamal Mashburn Jr., shout out to him. We'll have an edit coming out in the next couple of days of him. Some point. Demoy Hodge and Kobe Brown stocks are on the rise from Missouri. Both of them had 20 plus. Kobe Brown had 32 himself and a upset win over Illinois. I say upset because, even though we had picked Illinois, I thought Missouri had an outside chance to win this game. Don't sleep on my Missouri Tigers. Go Tigers. I love Demoy Hodge. He's been great. One of the best shooters in the country in terms of efficiency. Trey Alexander. Speaking of shooting, he had 32 points, 11 for 16 from the field, 7 of 12 from the 3-point line versus DePaul. This is a needed thing for Creighton. If Creighton's going to, take their 2-game win streak that they have right now, they're up to 8-6. They can take this little momentum swing they have and ride it into the next couple weeks. Who knows what the ceiling is for that team? I think that they could, really give some teams some trouble in the tournament with their lineup and their switchability. But it's kind of a matter of can they stay healthy? And then I'd say the health is the biggest thing, I think. Then Nembhard and Kalkbrenner, their efficiency in the pick and roll and offense is going to be crucial. I think that was a huge part of why they started the season out pretty hot, right at the initial onset. And then kind of after that Arkansas and the Maui Invitational, they kind of just decided to stop winning, like a lot of people have referred to on Twitter. Azuolas Tubelis' stock's on the rise. Speaking of guys who've been balling, like Trey Alexander, Azuolas Tubelis in his last 4, averaging 19.8 points per game, 10 rebounds, 4.5 of them being offensive rebounds, by the way, which is incredible. 2.3 assists per game, 2.3 steals and blocks per game, so stocks per game. And he's shooting 62% from the field and 40% from 3 for the Lithuanian big man. And he's just been great. That Arizona teams, they have a lot of talent, a lot of European talent, which I think is a rarity in college basketball, especially. But I've enjoyed watching every team play. Honestly, Arizona Tubelis is one of those guys that I have in my top 60. Who I may not be in the majority on that, but I think that he's a good enough player. Provides enough on the offensive end and can get it done on the defensive end. I think he's got a lot of versatility on offense, and the space in the modern NBA, I think he could be a factor at the 4 and 5, small ball 5 especially. Jalen Wilson's just been him. Kansas has obviously been rising up the rankings since they got tanked early in the season after a couple early losses. I don't need to talk about Jalen Wilson. We've talked about him enough. If you want to hear about Jalen Wilson, a very nuanced conversation, I would, go and talk, or not even talk. I would go and check out our podcast that we put up yesterday, that actually today, but yesterday, with Chucking Darts, and we kind of go into a little nuanced conversation about Jalen Wilson. So if that piques your interest, I would go check that out on theclockbb.com, or, you can find us on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you prefer. Both have a video option, and you can just really listen to YouTube podcasts off your phone before bed, whatever Your plan is all the way to work. Does not matter to me. Not yawning because I'm tired. I mean, I'm yawning, not yawning because I'm bored. I'm yawning because I'm tired. Utah's battle, TCU, one of my favorite teams in the country, the Utes. They fell victim to the Horned Frogs there. Close game. I think it was 75-77, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously in favor of TCU. Went down to the wire. My boy Gabe Madsen, Madman, the Ginger Ninja. Gabe Madsen, 26, 7, 15 from three. It just can't win them all. Brendan Carlson had a perfect game, 14-9, 3 assists, 5 blocks, 1 steal, 5 for 5 from the field, 1 for 1 from three. It just doesn't matter sometimes. Sometimes you just run up against Emmanuel Miller and Mike Miles, and Mike Miles didn't even play that great. And Emmanuel Miller had 21, 7, and 3 stocks. So he'll be probably a guy that I look at some more film on. I didn't watch this game, but I was happy when I saw the box score because I saw Gabe Madsen score 26, but I was sad when I saw the final score because my Utes lost. My favorite time of the week, NCAA women's game of the week. Duke against all odds. When I say against all odds, I mean against all three. Me, Julian, and Trevor all picked Virginia, and Duke won. The Lady Blue Devils knocked off the Lady Cavaliers. Duke, it was a defensive battle. Held Virginia to 3 of 15 from deep, and it's harder to win. Any game in college basketball these days when you just can't hit from deep. It is what it is. I think this will be a huge game for Virginia to kind of bounce back. The ACC is really top heavy. Obviously these teams were undefeated coming into the contest, and neither of them are ranked. That shows you how strong the records are and the Power 5 conferences are at the college basketball level. I don't know what will. Both teams combined for 35 offensive rebounds. I felt like that was an interesting anecdote of the box score and stats on the game. I did catch the first 10 minutes of this one, not the first 20, since, I just have stuff to do. It was the exam week last week, but I did catch the first 10 minutes and a little bit at the end. I was just kind of flipping between it and some other games that were on, like literally Villanova, St. John's, Utah, TCU, UNC, Michigan. All of those were in kind of a cycle mode, just is what it is. Vanessa De Jesus with 15, 3 and 3 for Lady Blue Devils. And she was one of 4 Lady Blue Devils in double figures. I have a special guest for the pod today. So I am going to request his presence currently. And we're going to pick some games for the week. This is a relatively short episode. But, I mean, you guys get to get introduced to a special member of my family. In case you guys were curious, for week 2 of our tracking, we're waiting on the Marquette Seton Hall game, which is tonight. Didn't really think that one through. Luckily, all the games for this next week's slate are almost all of them are tomorrow and Thursday. The only one that's not tomorrow, the only two are two of the women's games that are both on Thursday, but literally every game for the men's slate is tomorrow, including our game a week, which I will get into in a moment when my brother gets here. But Marquette Seton Hall tonight, 7 p.m. So you guys will find out the record for week 2 and week 4. Or and the record for week 8 and week 10. Okay. So I'm going to go grab my brother. Hi. So say hi to the people, Isaac.
Hi to the people.
So we're gonna be picking a couple games this week. I have some picked, but I don't want you to really look at mine in reference. I'm gonna give you kind of the pitches of each team, kind of talk to you about the players and like what the matchups are. I'm gonna try my best not to sway you. And I want you to pick the teams. You're going to pick 6 men's games, 6 men's college basketball games. You're going to pick 3 women's college basketball games. It's okay if you don't really feel that confident in the women's. They're all kind of a crapshoot anyway. It's just kind of about whoever shoots better in the game. But, okay. Are you ready, Isaac? All right. Tomorrow on the 28th, we have number 15 Kentucky taking on number 23 Missouri. Missouri's coming off a win over Illinois, who was a top 10 ranked team by our rankings last week. And I like Missouri. They have a lot of players that are kind of veterans that have played well together and have been playing well together to start the year. Kentucky is a little bit more of a younger team. They've been kind of struggling with some of their rotations and finding consistency. So, but they have a lot of talent. I mean, they have Kentucky's perennially. I don't know how much you follow college basketball, not at all, but they've been kind of perennially like one of the top teams in the country. So they have a lot of talent, but they're not necessarily a good team, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So kind of up in the air. What do you think, Kentucky or Missouri? Kentucky. All right. We got Villanova versus UConn. So this is kind of important. So UConn's the number 1 team in the country. They're undefeated. They have the best front court in the country. They have a really, really good point guard who I like a lot in terms of like draft talk. But the thing with Villanova is they're on a 5-game win streak since they got Cam Whitmore back, who is my favorite player in the country, my favorite freshman. And so they're 5-0 since he got back. He hasn't been playing a ton of minutes, so I don't anticipate him having a huge box score impact on this game. And that's why I took UConn personally. I took Missouri in the last game, by the way. I took Missouri. Isaac took Kentucky. No picks from Julian this week. Hopefully he'll return with some picks next week. So what are you thinking? Villanova or UConn? I feel like UConn's probably the safe pick.
Yeah, probably UConn then.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying not to sway you, but
yeah,
Villanova is going to be fine. They're on a 5-game win streak. It's just it's unlikely going to be able to knock off UConn. I mean, UConn's been unbelievable this year. Number 7 Alabama. All of these games, again, guys, are on Wednesday the 28th. All of these men's games. Number 7 Alabama versus number 32 Mississippi State. Mississippi State just lost their first game of the season. They were undefeated, and then lost to a mid-major team. So, I mean, that's a pretty bad loss, but they lost to some good players. Alabama has one of the best freshmen in the country. They have a pretty talented team. They've been playing very well. I don't know. This one's kind of a toss-up as well. It's an SEC matchup. We're getting into SEC play here for the first week, so
Alabama.
You're gonna pick Alabama? I took Mississippi State. I just feel like they lost last week. They probably won't lose again, but I'm gonna look like a dummy, I'm sure. All right, number 5, Arkansas versus LSU. LSU and Arkansas are both 11-1. Arkansas is obviously ranked number 5, and LSU is unranked, and it's more of a reflection of the talent on the team, not necessarily the teams themselves. LSU is very well coached. They get up and down, play a very, very specific style of basketball that suits the players that they recruit. Where Arkansas, they like to get up and down too, but have been struggling with their consistency. This game is probably going to be a track meet and very high scoring. So I think it's kind of up in the air. Arkansas. I took Arkansas as well. Xavier versus St. John's. Now, these are teams that I haven't watched very often. I don't watch the Big East a lot unless it's Villanova or Creighton, or Marquette, obviously. But Xavier's got Jaden. Oh my gosh, I'm losing Jaden Taylor, I think, or he might be for Butler. But Xavier's got a really, really good guard, Colby Jones. They have a really good guard, Colby Jones, who's been playing great. St. John's is a very deep team. They just lost to Villanova last week in one of our games that we predicted. And I'd taken Nova, just like everybody else. So I don't know. I think St. John's could be a sleeper here. They have Andre Curbelo, who is a really good point guard as well. So it's going to be a guard matchup.
St. John's.
St. John's. I took Xavier. So we're going against each other a little bit here, bud. I swear he can't see who I picked, so I'm not telling him who to pick or anything like that. It's all on him. Again, on Wednesday, last men's game. This is our sleeper game of the week. So this is one that I really, really liked and wanted to put on here. It's going to be number 22 UNLV, who has one loss this year. A lot of really good players versus San Jose State. San Jose State's got one of my favorite players in the country, Amari Moore, taking on Keyshawn Gilbert, a good little draft prospect matchup. And, Keyshawn Gilbert's really good. Like, he's one of the best scorers in the country, like pure scorers. And Omari Moore is just kind of an all-around two-way point guard. Both teams are okay. UNLV is obviously ranked, but neither team is like a prominent like national powerhouse. I'd say UNLV is probably would be considered like a higher like tier school, you know what I mean, in terms of like budget, like recruiting budget, stuff like that. But San Jose State's a great program. They're very well coached. They play together.
San Jose.
You're gonna take San Jose State. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Amari Moore. Shout out Amari Moore. Say shout out Amari Moore.
Shout out Amari Moore.
There we go. Love it. Now, also tomorrow, we have some women's games. We have number 8. Now, these aren't my rankings. The last ones were all my rankings. Now, these are the national rankings. So this is what other people, not me, feel about how good they are. This is what other people feel. Number 8, UConn versus number 21, Creighton. I do not know anything about this team except for Creighton has one girl who is just an absolute sniper.
And then Creighton.
And Creighton won last week, I believe. No, they didn't. They won a couple weeks ago when we picked them, when we had them in this. So women's Creighton team you're going with? Yeah, they beat Arkansas, I believe, week 1 of our thing, and they were an important. I think I picked Creighton, and that decided who won that week. I beat Julian by 1 game. Number 4, Indiana versus Michigan State. This is the first game that we've talked about that is on Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. Ike, how do you feel? Number 4, Indiana versus Michigan State, a Big Ten battle.
Michigan State.
You got Michigan State. I took Indiana. We are going against each other on almost every single pick, ladies and gentlemen. The only team that we agreed on was Arkansas and UConn. We've disagreed on every other pick. Number 5, Notre Dame versus Miami. I'm not going to say anything.
Notre Dame.
All right, we agreed on another one. All right, Notre Dame are the picks for Isaac. Thanks for coming on, buddy. It's good. Even though you don't know anything about college basketball, it'll just be fun to see how your picks do. This has been another week of madness. I hope you guys enjoyed. I mean, just kind of talking about some of the prospect matchups before I skedaddle on out of here. Off the top of my head, we already talked about Amari Moore, Keyshawn Gilbert, Cam Whitmore taking on Adama Sanogo, Donovan Clingan, and Tristan Newton of UConn. And then we also kind of one that I'm going to watch is Chris Livingston versus Demoy Hodge. I feel like Demoy Hodge is going to eat Chris Livingston's breakfast and lunch and dinner. And then we have Brandon Miller versus Tolu Smith in the matchup of Mississippi State versus Alabama, which should be interesting. All fun things, all important things to know going into the week. Don't take any of my advice for sports betting. Probably terrible at it. Definitely not good at fantasy football. Lost by 1 point this week in the second round of the championship, or the second round of the playoffs, to go to the championship. $50 to win $700 in my league. Yeah, I'm a little heartbroken. So I hope you guys are doing good this holiday time of year, because I'm not. I'm destroyed and tattered emotionally. Right, Ike?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a rough Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It's been a great Christmas. I hope you all had a good Christmas and a wonderful New Year. I will see you guys in 2023. This has been another week of madness, and we're off the clock.